presentation for Chapter 2 cost estimation process. In the previous Chapter 1, we have discussed about the basis of the cost estimates, right? And that we have stated the definition, first of all, of the cost estimation as being the production of providing with two quantitative estimates, a rough estimate for the cost of resources, that includes your manpower resource, that's the individual, as well the tools and the techniques, the equipments that are being used, as well the quantitative as cost estimate. Now, today, when we depend on the cost estimate, we stated that there are four preliminary things that you need to have in your cost estimate, which they are the financial plan, that includes the plan for your design, your scope, the effort being driven, right? The tools that are going to be used throughout the project, and as well the second part, which is the public transparency. It is that when you give the confidence and transparency of the estimates to your customer, and based on the estimation that has been provided without padding those estimates. The third part, which is the governing of the project, to have a control, and that can be done through the cost-based estimate. That means you have a baseline that you have set the baseline to your cost estimate. You measure against it, right, the payments, the fund reconciliations per the time being proposed to be driven, those estimates, and those payments to be paid, right, by your contractor. And as well to have what we call the project resiliency. It's that in case if there's an attribute, a failure occurs during a project, so that is going to reaccumulate new cost. So how you're going to re-estimate the project once again to complete that problem, and to make sure that you don't have overdue of cost, which it affects your delivery of your project. So today we're going to be looking on the processes that are being used for cost estimation. So basically we'll look on the introduction of the process of cost estimate. We're going to be looking on the determining the base of cost estimate, the basis, the preparation of the base cost estimate, the preview of the basis of cost estimate, the risk assessments being taken, measured, and being added to the cost estimate, determining the ACE customer communication approach, and how to get the support and endorsements, right, from the management or top management. So let's look on the process. If let's say we have a project and a civil project, right? This is being designed by the adaptation of the governmental authority of transportation in the United States. They use that flow chart, right, in order to and that process in order to provide with their estimates. So let's take a look over it. So first of all, I need to have, when I have a project, I need to have an information about the project. I need to have to know what is the size of that project, what is the scope of that project, and I need to have as well the location where I'm going to run this project. Is it going to be run in which country? Because I need to calculate the currency I'm going to be using. As well, I need to know whether the location, not only the country, whether I'm going to do it on my in premises of the company, or I'm going to do it at the customer premises. And as well, the site characteristics. Is the infrastructure of the site, it is being revealed that it's being furnished, or it's not furnished. And then I have to take the basis of those estimates, a high level estimates, and they will be based on historical. So it means if I'm going through historical characteristics, I'm going through what we call top-down estimates. I am looking for historical projects and similar to the project I'm going to run, benchmark, measure in between them, and take the differences. Or I might go through the bottom-up estimation, and that is to break down, right, the estimates, including taking in factor the SME, small, medium enterprise organization. So I'm dealing with what sort of organization I am going to deliver. It's a small organization. Is it a medium organization? Is it an enterprise? So it means that is it a startup company or the vendor, right? Or is it the customer who I'm going to estimate to him, so that I'm adding the appropriate amount of cost? Is it a small organization, limited liability? Is it a corporate organization? Is it a multinational organization? Based on these estimates, I'll be able. So then I have to perform a random review for those estimates, right? and to make sure that I have aggregated all of the costs, the estimates. So I can have as well to include the risk assessment, which it will include as well the market analysis conditions. That it means I'm going to look onto the enterprise environmental factors that affects the project, such as the economical issues, such as the competition in the market, right? And the technological advancements. As well, I'm going to look on to the extensions of the internal, okay, SMEs. That means if I'm the organization who's going to develop, so am I a limited liability, or I am a small or a big organization? So what are the factors factoring inside the organization, right? Skills, the labor, right? The knowledge of that labor, the budget being invested. So I have to look on those considerations. Then after that, I'm able to communicate the estimates to the clients as well to the top executives. And then I will have the management endorsements, right? Their approvals, okay, for the regions. And so that means that I have an estimate it contains a conceptual, right? And it does the planning. And I do have as well the estimations, right? And the scoping as well that's being estimated, the updates, right, from the designs, and the engineering, okay, testing as well, and the letting of it. So this is the process being used for estimating a civil construction project, or it can be used as well in software companies or pharmaceuticals, any sort of business industries you can adopt the cycle. So from this figure, we have seen that has been adapted from the WSDOT, which is the Washington State Department of Transportation, that uses that process, right? It is being applied for every project development, from planning to estimates. So you will plan, you provide what are the business specs, and you accordingly, you estimate those business specs from the effort driven that the employees or the manpower that are going to be operated, as well the equipments and machinery that will be required. As well, each phase, right, it will have a different input, method, and techniques and tools. So always, every every part of the pile which we have looked into it, it will have a certain different estimates. It will have a different input, so estimates will be varied. As well, the method of applying, right, it will vary. So, for example, let's say I'm going to take an input, right, for having development of a web portal, right? So I do require to build a web portal. I need the front end developers. I need to have a content writers, right? I need to have a back end, right, for the database. Okay. I need to have them for the API integrations. That's all the inputs. So each of those inputs, they will be the back end, they will have a time to do to build the database, the front end to build the front area, the as well the content to write it. So everyone will have an effort driven. So the methods of estimating, it varies. I might use what we call a 1 point estimate. I might use a PERT estimate. I might use a Boker estimate. I might use a T-shirt estimate. There are many techniques and estimations I'm going to adopt. And as well, the tools I'm going to work, shall I use it on MS Project for scheduling? Shall I use Primavera? Shall I use the Jira? Shall I use the ClickUp? Shall I use which tools and all that? Similarly, it goes in the different industries and constructions, as well into mechanical engineering and all pharmaceuticals and every industry that requires to have a cost estimate. So this task of estimating, right, it's being very procure, very natural, and requires a application of prudent judgment, okay, and a short description of each step you're going to take and why, to have a justification of each estimate being added. So all of the estimates include the scope, right? For example, the percentage of engineering, the design that's going to be working, the design parameters, how complex is this features, the unique features that you're going to work, well, we call them the MMF, minimum viable, okay, products that you're going to market. So you need these the first features to be driven outside, to be deployed. Discipline required to prepare the cost estimates and other any predefined or pretended information. So as long we progress, elaborate into the project, so the basis of estimates will vary. So I might have the first, at a glance, I might cite and estimate a feature. It might take 10 hours. Later on, when I go deeper in estimating, decomposing it, I find that it requires 15 hours to be done. So the more we progressively elaborate, the more the estimates will become more accurate. As well, I can use, as stated, a top-down estimate in which I can benchmark to a historical project similar scope and measure accordingly. So all of these are being set into a documentations, right? And it has a traceability history where I can say why I had estimated that project, that predetermined effort driven, or that's the size of the project. So based on the historical that's been done previously. So it's important that we have a based estimate, right, for the year of the current year dollars. So it's very important that if I'm using the dollars, I need to know what is the equivalent rates currency to the other countries. Okay. Base estimates must be prepared in a variety of techniques. Okay. So based on the scope and how and the size. So we have the scope that's going to be defined, the size and the complexity of the project. So for example, if I have a scope phase, right, cost estimating, so every cost estimate will be rely on certain variables. We have what we call the preliminary engineering, rights of the way, and the construction. Now, the preliminary engineering, it is basically the scope definition of what's going to be done. That's the business specs, the design, effort driven, and the right of the way, it is that if I need to have material equipments that will be used for example, if I'm in a construction, I need to have the land, right? So the land is going to be a cost incurred to purchase that land that I will build on it, right? And I need to have the construction, the effort driven, that is the building itself and its components that will be included, the raw materials cost, the operation work that's going to be done, right? So as the design progresses, so more detail as being stated, so the more the design, so the more details will be given, we will be able to have a information in form of a database that includes the bid tabs, the Wisdot, the unit bed analysis, and the means cost data. So you'll be able to easily estimate. So all these estimations, they need to be reviewed. They need to be consulted with the SMEs, right? And subject matter expertise, right, in preparing those estimates. And estimates, they can be rounded, right? So it means that you need to keep on re-estimate and review the estimates until you get a precision level of those estimates. So the minimum estimate developed in early stage of the project, it should include all the major milestones. So when we focus on the first, if I have a group of features, so I will be looking first of all to select, right, the milestones. Those are the milestones that I will incur a payment once they're being completed. And I have to measure the progress based on those milestones, especially in the project plan. When I plan for a project on my MS project, I do add the milestone activities in which when I perform monitor control, I keep looking onto the milestones and their delivery because they are the most important areas that I would incur a profit, the payments that will be getting incurred into the organization. So the minimum, okay, and the rapid project schedules to include estimated duration for environment, design, the ROAW, the bid, the award, and the construction phases. So when reviewing the base estimates, right, project estimates, they are based on, so when we set estimates, we set certain assumptions. Assumptions could be affirmative or determinative. So I would say, what if the client increased a new package? So that means I have to revalidate the scope once more again, revalidate the estimates and add the new estimates. So that will affect into the scope-based estimate in which I have to re-baseline it and re-evaluate it once more again. So the base cost estimate, it provides with accurate reflection of the project scope of the work. So scope, schedule, cost are being the most preliminary areas that you use to calculate the project components, which they give us the project baseline, right? Historical records, right, are being used, as we said, that to provide with quantitative approach for a similar projects that I can use to estimate. Now, frankly speaking, the bottom-up estimation is being more accurate than following a top-down estimate. Remember that you need to include into your estimate of three important components: the quality control, which they will add the effort driven for detecting or inspecting the deliverables, quality assurance for the process set to verify and validate the process everyone is adopting, and on the organizational level, you need to add the quality verifications. So estimation, it checks the quality delivers. So this is being the base estimate of the current and the complete. You need to have the backup calculations and the documentation of each item to be estimated. So you need to have as well a buffer for every estimate. Data and input usage remind the dollar estimate for each unit, as we stated that you need to state what is the amount of dollar for each year you're going to be using, or the current year, what is the dollar amount. Lump sum items are described and estimated values being explained. Those are if you have a fixed price contract, so already you have a fixed price amount being set. Quality assurance, whom they are going to make sure that you are applying the rules and the policy procedures for documentations, for using the templates that has been stated. And the quality verification on the organization, right, is that they will apply on all the policies regarding to the uh, processes that needs to be followed so that you can have a successful delivery and to verify, right, that you're adopting a standards, right, and you are delivering a quality to your customers. Risk is very important and it needs to be taken in considerations, right? So you need to look onto the cost and the schedules, right? You have to look like the orders, for example, there are certain pre-prescribed risks being given as E1053 that provides instruction how and risk assessment must be performed. So you need to have manuals to look onto, right, risk traceability as well, how to, if an event is being triggered, what actions to be taken. Policy statement P2407 is another example. It gives you a structure on how to deal with that risk and how to treat it, right? So the WSDOT Project Management Risk Guide provides the needs of details of all the assessment rules. So the WSDOT, which is the Washington State Department of Transportations, they use the policy statement P2407. You can read about it, or if you take the course, we can give it to you in more example, more details. As well, the order E1053, it tells you on how to act once a risk has been triggered, right, and how to reduce the effect of that risk. Now, it's very important that you need to, when you communicate the estimate, it's very important to give a range. Don't give one number. And this is actually today when we perform bottom-up estimation. So when we calculate the PERT estimate, right, we do get the pessimistic, the most likely time, and the optimistic time divided by the average for. So we get a number and then we calculate the standard deviation and we add and we subtract. So we get two range of numbers. So I would say the project, it will take in between 150 to 180 hours. So I'm giving a range. Estimates for a project should include everything. But if the customer, right, it insists that I need a one number, so you say 180, take the highest always. So remember that every scope, it needs to have a preliminary engineering. So you need to perform those actions when you estimate your scope. Preliminary engineering, right? It means you need to know what is the scope, what is the cost of the design, what is the cost of the breakdown of those efforts. That's called the composing of the work breakdown structure. Right on the way, you need to express the, if there's a land, if there's equipment, indirect costs will be included, and the construction, the effort size, and the action that will be taken. So the estimate is completed with the year of the expenditure dollars. Remember, the expenditure dollars, very important to know what is the rate of the dollar in according to your currency, right? Unless if you're going to use the dollar amount. Regardless of whether the risk assessment employed, the project cost estimate needs to be communicated to internal and external consultants. So internal the organization, external. So the communication provides with the information, right, on how the project, right, estimated to be taken and what are the delimiters of this project that you need to deliver within that time. So having the communication of these estimates, so you'll be having, as we defined, the preliminary engineering includes your associate stage of the project, such as planning, scope, and design. The construction, it is the largest phase of the building that is going to be execution taking place. Right of the way, it includes the land that you're going to purchase that you will build on internet. You need to get the management endorsements. You need to keep the management be updated with the estimates, right? You need to get their approvals, right? And to review those estimates and any changes that could occur in the past. Remember that your estimates will include as well all the unknown risks, right? To be revised, the escalations, the policy and the management, the known risks as well that will be added, as well the scope definition, as well the basis of estimates will be including your work documentation, your objectives, and the neutral and the on-based estimates. This is the end of chapter 2. Hope to meet you on chapter 3 next week. Thank you very much. This is Muhammad Ahmed Zaki. Wish you a good day. Au revoir.